What's up, wrestling fans? I'm Steven from the Hills Maniacs, and today I'm going to be giving my predictions for this Sunday's WWE pay-per-view Summerslam 2023. Now, before I get into my predictions, I do have a question for everyone viewing this video. It's more like a three-part question, I guess, but do you think there will be a Money in the Bank cash-in at SummerSlam? Who do you think will cash in? Will it be the women's Money in the Bank holder, Io Sky, or the men's Money in the Bank holder, Damian Priest? And who do you think they will cash in on if one of them or both of them were to cash in? Which champion would they go after? Let me know that down in the comments section what your answer to those questions would be. And now let's get into my predictions. So first of all, I'm going to talk about the match that they kind of just randomly sort of threw together recently on SmackDown, and they've been talking about it on Raw as well. It's the SummerSlam Battle Royal. I think the main reason they did this is just because they wanted to get a bunch of people on the card without having to make like 20 matches. I don't think they really said how many people are in it. There's only been a couple names announced so far with LA Knight, Sheamus. I think Chad Gable was thrown in there as well. A couple other people here and there. I think at the very least they should use this Battle Royal to push a mid-card star and maybe give them a mid-card title match such as the Intercontinental Championship or United States Championship, depending on which brand that superstar is that wins. I don't exactly know what they're planning to do with it, if they're going to follow up with it, like the winner gets a title shot or something. But I personally, and I've heard a lot of people say this as well, I would like to see LA Knight win this match. I think he needs like a big win. He's had a couple wins here and there on SmackDown, so he hasn't really done much since his little mini feud he had with Bray Wyatt at the beginning of the year. He didn't have a match at WrestleMania, that kind of thing. So, and he hasn't really gotten a title shot or anything. I think this would be a good way for them to push LA Knight and maybe give him a US title match where he could take the title off of Austin Theory, maybe on the SmackDown after SummerSlam, maybe at the Payback pay-per-view. Who knows exactly what they're planning, but I think that would be good for LA Knight to get a win, even though it is kind of just a pointless battle royal that they just threw together at the last minute. Up next is the MMA rules match between Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. I kind of haven't really paid much attention to this feud. I mean, I know they started it when Shayna turned on Ronda in their last tag team title defense that they had, which cost them the tag team titles. And the whole reasoning behind it is because Shayna feels that Ronda hasn't really appreciated her, and that Shayna's the reason that Ronda's even in WWE in the first place. Like, she doesn't really acknowledge that at all. And I kind of like that that's the reason for this feud. But it feels like they're trying to make Ronda Rousey the babyface in this and make Shayna the heel, and I think it should be the other way around. Honestly, I don't think either one of them works really good as a babyface, because Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey are these two UFC fighters that have now joined WWE, all these years. And I think that style of, their competitive nature and this ruthlessness that they have should be on display all the time. And I think both of them being heels works better for their characters. So personally for me, this match could go either way. I think Shayna Baszler should win this. I think Ronda is probably on her way out of WWE. I've heard, that her contract's up soon or something like that, or at the end of the year or whatever, so she might just be on her way out anyways. And I think it'd be good for her to put over somebody like Shayna Baszler as this next sort of Ronda Rousey figure. Have Shayna finally go win the women's championship. She could be the one that dethrones Rhea Ripley. And I think that would be a nice callback as well, because I'm pretty sure Rhea Ripley was the one that defeated Shayna Baszler for the NXT women's title before Shayna was called up to the main roster. So I think that'd be kind of a nice little poetry moment where like Shayna could go on and win the women's title while Ronda sort of just, goes on to another feud or something and then eventually leaves WWE. I don't exactly know what the future holds for Ronda Rousey, but I think this is the opportunity for them to push Shayna into that dominant heel that she used to be in NXT. And I think that all starts here at SummerSlam with a win over Ronda Rousey. Now this next match, it's not really just thrown together randomly. I'm just not that interested in it, I guess. It feels like more of just like two random guys that they wanted to throw on the card kind of like a mid-card style match. It's Logan Paul versus Ricochet. Now, honestly, the way they've hyped up Logan Paul since he first debuted with WWE, it almost seems like he should be the one challenging Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship, which is the direction I thought they were going to go when they had Seth win the title, because Seth beat Logan at WrestleMania, so I thought they were going to continue this feud and have Logan come back and be Seth's first challenger, and then maybe lose again, and then won another match or whatever, and Logan ends up winning. I thought Logan was going to win Money in the Bank and then use that to get a title match against Seth Rollins, cash in on Rollins and win, stuff like that. I thought that's the story they were going with. So to see him kind of feuding with Ricochet, nothing against Ricochet, it just doesn't feel like this huge feud that's going to continue after SummerSlam. I think that'll just end here, and maybe that's your payback match, is Logan Paul versus Seth Rollins, if Rollins even retains the World Heavyweight title, which I'll talk about later. And honestly, I just don't see Ricochet really winning this match. I don't think this does anything for Ricochet, even if he does beat Logan Paul. I don't think this is meant to be a sort of push for Ricochet, like you're going to beat this major star in Logan Paul. I just think it's there to be a sort of filler feud until Logan can get back to the World Heavyweight Championship program, or even just continue his rivalry with Seth Rollins, even if it's not for the World Heavyweight title. And I don't think Logan Paul gains anything from this either, getting a win. So I just think Logan Paul is probably going to win this, because I think they have bigger plans for him down the road, maybe even at WrestleMania, winning the World Heavyweight title, whatever. I can kind of feel that that's the direction they're going with Logan Paul, because he is this mega star. They call him the social media mega star for a reason. I feel like they might take advantage of that and put the World Heavyweight title on him at some point. So it kind of feels like he's lower down the card right now when he's facing someone like Ricochet. Like, I'm sure it will be a fun match. I'm sure there'll be some really cool spots and stuff like that, like we saw in the Royal Rumble between these two. I just don't think it's necessarily a match that I'm looking forward to. Like, I'm not super hyped for it. And I just think Logan Paul is going to win this match and move on to a new feud. Now, this next match I am kind of looking forward to, and I'm not sure which direction they're going to go with this. It's the Intercontinental Championship match between Gunther and Drew McIntyre. Now, I like that they're sort of continuing his rivalry with Drew McIntyre, because it started at WrestleMania when it was Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus versus Gunther in the triple threat match for the Intercontinental title. And Gunther won that match, and then Drew didn't really do much after that. And then he was drafted to Raw, and they kind of had this whole thing with, like, he might be leaving WWE or whatever, and they brought him back to continue his rivalry with Gunther. Now, do I think Drew is going to beat Gunther? No, I don't. I think, at the very least, this match will end in, like, a count-out or disqualification or something, where Drew will win but not win the title, so that Gunther can lose the match without losing his title. And I think that this will continue, Gunther versus Drew McIntyre will continue maybe at Payback or whatever. I don't see anybody beating Gunther until he beats Honky Tonk Man's record as longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time. And it seems like that's what WWE is trying to prepare for. They want to elevate Gunther to that level to cement his legacy in WWE, and he's only been on the main roster for like a year now, and he'll be the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time. Like, I think that's really impressive, and I like that they're keeping that on him for this long. And in order to do that, I think he has to retain it until, I believe it's like the SmackDown after the Payback pay-per-view. So I think that's why this isn't going to end at SummerSlam, or even Payback for that matter. I think Gunther's going to retain the Intercontinental Championship here and continue his run on Raw as champion, and then maybe feud with Drew McIntyre again at Payback, and maybe one more time. Maybe after that, after he beats that record and becomes the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time, then maybe on an episode of Raw or at Survivor Series or whatever's next after Payback, I guess, or maybe Fastlane, I think it is. That's where you have Drew McIntyre dethrone Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship. Up next is the Finish the Story match between Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar. I'm kidding, that's not a stipulation, but that would be so WWE to do that, right? Some kind of weird, like, let's make it about a book thing, because Cody keeps saying finish the story. Anyways, it's Cody Rhodes versus Brock Lesnar. Honestly, when this feud started, I was a bit intrigued by it. I was like, It's something different for Brock Lesnar. You don't usually see him going after people that aren't involved in some way with the World Heavyweight Championship. And I like that they're both at one apiece and can continue this feud in a meaningful way. That being said, I think Cody Rhodes will win this match. I think they're going to use this to push Cody into a program for the World Heavyweight Championship. But where does Brock Lesnar go after this? I think maybe after this he goes after Gunther for a bit and fights him for the Intercontinental title. And that's kind of what I want to see. Like maybe Cody and Brock both go after championships, but because Brock didn't win his feud with Cody, he doesn't go after the World Heavyweight title right away. He goes after a different title. Because Brock hasn't really held any other titles in WWE, even back in his early 2000s days in WWE. He just held the Undisputed title back then, and he's been Universal and World Heavyweight Champion since then. So to see him go after a different title would be something, or would be kind of fun to see. But I think the bigger story out of this is that Cody Rhodes will beat Brock Lesnar, and then he can move on and challenge maybe Seth Rollins or Finn Balor, whoever has the World Heavyweight title, by the end of SummerSlam. Up next, we have a triple threat match for the Women's Championship from SmackDown. It's Asuka defending against Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair. Honestly, I think Asuka is going to retain here because, as far as my memory serves, she just recently won that championship, and they recently gave her, she had like the Raw Women's title, and then they changed it to that and gave the new belt to Asuka. I think she's going to retain here, and I think this is going to spin off into a feud between Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair that maybe could go to WrestleMania if they drew it out enough. Meanwhile, Asuka could go into a feud with somebody else. Maybe even this is where you have, after the match, maybe Charlotte and Bianca attack Asuka or something, or Bayley and Io Sky come out and attack Asuka, and Io cashes in and wins. You have a feud between Asuka and Io Sky for a few months. You have a feud between Charlotte and Bianca Belair for a few months, and then you set up like Bianca, who will be a full heel by that point or something, can go and win her title back off of Io or Asuka, whoever has it by the time, like maybe next year's WrestleMania rolls around. You can put the title on Bianca again and have her as a heel, and maybe that starts here. She seemed to be kind of acting heelish lately on SmackDown, like because she wasn't given her one-on-one rematch and all that kind of stuff. So maybe this is where they're starting to build up Bianca as this new heel on SmackDown that's going to go against the other baby faces and maybe win her title back at some point. But for right now, I don't see Asuka losing the title just yet. I like this new rendition of Asuka that we've been seeing lately. I think it makes her seem more menacing and unpredictable. And I like that Asuka's sort of a heel and a baby face, and then you got Charlotte, who I guess is supposed to be the baby face, and Bianca's kind of in the middle of that right now. I could see this going anyway, but I think Asuka will still retain the championship, and then maybe you get that possibility of an Io Sky cash-in after the match. And then these last two matches are the ones I'm most excited about, just because I think there's so much that could happen in either of these matches. And they're both going to be really good, I feel like, but there's also the lingering threat of Damian Priest with the Money in the Bank contract. So first I'm going to talk about Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor, which is the rematch from Money in the Bank for the World Heavyweight Championship. And I know a lot of people are thinking that maybe Finn Balor is going to win, because how fitting would it be that all these years, 7 years later, he beats Seth at SummerSlam again for the World Heavyweight Championship, just like he did all those years ago when Finn won the Universal title by beating Seth Rollins and became the inaugural Universal Champion. And then, of course, like I said, you have that lingering threat of, will Damian Priest cash in? And if he does, will he cash in on Finn or Seth? That whole kind of thing. There's a lot to look forward to in this match. I think Seth and Finn are going to put on a really good match again, and I think, honestly, Seth will retain the championship here. Now, whether or not Damian Priest will cash in, I think either way, it still works for this dissension in Judgment Day between Finn Balor and Damian Priest. Like, if Finn wins the title and Damian cashes in on him, then you have that full-on dissension. Like, why would you do that? You said you weren't going to do that. And then they break up. They either kick Finn out of the Judgment Day or Damian out of Judgment Day, and he goes and continues to be the World Heavyweight Champion while maybe Finn fights him for it, etc. Or you have also the possibility of Damian cashing in on Seth and winning the World Heavyweight title after Finn fails to win the championship. And then you can look at it like or Finn can be jealous of Damian for a while, like you did what I couldn't do, etc. Maybe Damian can rub that in his face, like I was able to beat Seth Rollins, but you weren't, kind of thing, and still work the dissension angle there. Either way, I don't know if I personally think Damian is going to cash in yet. I would rather see Damian cash in the Universal title match, which I'll talk about in a second. But as far as this match between Seth Rollins and Finn Balor goes, I could see it going either way, but I think they might be planning something else with Seth Rollins. So I think maybe keeping the world title on him for a while longer at least, maybe to the end of the year, whatever. Maybe even into WrestleMania, who knows? Because it seems like they like to have these like longer than 3-month reigns as champion, which is a good thing, I guess, because it makes them seem like they could lose it at any time. But I think Seth will retain here and then go on to maybe feud with someone else from Raw or whatever for a while and move on from the Judgment Day, because he's been involved with them for a while now. And then you can, like I said, continue the stuff with Finn Balor and Damian Priest and all that. Even if Damian doesn't cash in Money in the Bank, maybe they can still work something out there. So that's why that's so intriguing, because you have all these different angles that can spin off from this one match. And then of course we have what I feel will be the main event, the Tribal Combat match for the Universal Championship between Roman Reigns and Jey Uso. Now, I think Roman is still going to retain the title here, and the reason I think that is because having Jey win the title when like people like Edge or John Cena or Seth Rollins, Daniel Bryan, all of them over these last 3 years, those big names that have challenged Roman and lost, having him lose the title to someone like Jey Uso, just, I don't know, it just doesn't seem right to me. It doesn't seem like Jey is that caliber of superstar where he's better than Edge and all of those kind of big names that I mentioned. Like, no offense to Jey, I just don't see him as a single star. Like, they've been building Solo up as a single star. I could see him beating Roman for the Universal Championship. And not only that, I think there's a bigger story that can be told with Roman keeping the championship. I get into more detail in my How the Bloodline Story Will End video that I did a few weeks ago. Go check that out if you haven't seen it. But there you go, guys. Those were my predictions for this year's SummerSlam event. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments section. What are some of your predictions? Also, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more wrestling content. Thank you for watching the video, everyone, and I'll see you guys in the next one.